Hello! Jeez, that was a lot further back than I thought I'd go. Hello, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, my name's Chin Yang and I am an online female fitness and lifestyle coach, and we work with women all around the world to get them in the best shape of their lives, to build their confidence and to really create a sustainable routine and lifestyle that they can carry on with for the rest of their lives. So very holistic. We work on physical health and also obviously mental health because they're so closely intertwined. And yeah, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to go over 10 habits that have really changed my life from a physical health standpoint, mental health, and a life quality standpoint. You know, I sat down and I thought about when was it that my life kind of really turned around for itself, where, you know, I was waking up actually happy, excited, motivated. Now, obviously, I'm still going to have those days where I'm feeling a bit low, and that's completely human and normal. But these 10 habits have really improved my life quality, and I know that they're really going to help you. So let's get started. Before we do though, make sure you give this video a like because it really supports my channel and I really appreciate it, and subscribe if you are new here. So habit number 1 is keeping my phone notifications off for at least the first hour when I wake up, and actually not going on my phone, at least trying to for as long as possible, around an hour, because what typically happens is, you can probably relate, you wake up and you roll over, you turn on your phone, and then you spend the next like 5 to 10 minutes in bed scrolling, getting bombarded with notifications. And I found that it was stressing me out, it wasn't helping with my productivity, it was actually doing bits for my anxiety as well, because imagine waking up being bombarded with notifications that you've missed overnight. So that is habit number 1. It's really going to help you with your productivity, your clarity in the morning, your stress levels even, but also it's going to get you out of bed. And we all know when we go on our phones in bed, it becomes like an hour and 2 hours. So we want to start the day fresh, clear, with clarity, and not on our phones. Number 2, this is 4. Number 2 is drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning. That's really going to help you with your hydration levels, with your energy, how you feel, how your body feels, because overnight we are very dehydrated, and we usually start the day, roll out of bed, and we're like, need to make myself a coffee, right? And at first it is amazing, but we don't actually give our body the chance to just wake up by itself naturally. So first thing in the morning, go and get a glass of water. Feel how good it feels. Experience how good it feels to just have some water first thing in the morning and to hydrate yourself. Number 3 is getting some movement in first thing in the morning. As you can probably tell, all these things are starting from the morning, because I'm a big believer that if you want to set yourself up for the day, it really does start from that moment where you open your eyes, right? So getting some movement in first thing in the day is going to firstly just get you started off feeling great, because you've really released some good endorphins, you've gone out, gotten some fresh air. Especially if you are working from the office, you don't get much time to just be outside. So I think, you know, setting a non-negotiable to be like, look, I'm gonna spend at least like 5 to 10 minutes outside getting some fresh air in, that really is going to just change how you feel and your mood. Number 4 is focus on the words that you're using with yourself. It's very easy to always focus on, right, our physical health, like we shop at the gym, we work out, we get our steps in, whatever it is, but often we neglect our mental health, and a lot of it is actually the words that we're using. So on a day-to-day basis, how are you actually speaking to yourself? Like when you slip up, how do you speak to yourself? Do you put yourself down more and you tell yourself like, oh my gosh, like I knew I could never do this, I'm such an idiot, I'm so stupid, all that? Or do you speak to yourself in a way that's actually going to encourage yourself and boost yourself up? One question that I typically get my clients to ask themselves is, how would you speak to your daughter or your best friend or your sister in the exact same situation? And they're often like, oh, I would never say this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, why are you saying this to yourself, right? Ultimately, you should want the best for yourself. So speak to yourself in a kind of way. Obviously, this doesn't mean to be complacent, but you know, self-love is being able to give yourself that tough love, but in a way where you're not putting yourself down. Make it a habit to actually just listen to your thoughts, your subconscious thoughts. What are you feeding into your daily thoughts? Because that is then going to reflect your actions and how you see yourself, and also your moods. And then that is obviously then going to spiral into your ability to show up for yourself and to push yourself towards different challenges and goals. Number 5 is actually adding in more processed foods. I know typically this is not a habit that most people will talk about, but this actually really helped me. So at the start of my fitness journey, I was very much like, I have to eat clean 24/7, like looking at food labels, laser focus on like what is the healthiest thing that I can buy. And you know what, like it actually just drove up my food focus. It really put me in a bad position with food, because I was just looking at food as good and bad based on what was in the nutritional label, which to an extent is correct. But I think there's a very fine line between just being aware and mindful of making higher quality food decisions versus being very obsessed obsesses over them. So when I actually started incorporating more unhealthy foods, it got me to realize that, hey, nothing bad's gonna happen to my body. Obviously, I don't wanna live off this food, but having like 20% of my diet is going to do nothing to me. In fact, it's actually going to improve my mental health. It's going to improve my peace around food, and I'm not going to overthink things. And when I am out in different situations, I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't touch that because it's processed or it's not like a healthy snack. And it just puts you in a position where you have a lot more food freedom. And because you actually have that food freedom, you are no longer so laser focused on the foods that you can't have, the unhealthy foods. You no longer think about them, and you don't actually cave towards them because you know that you can have them, but you just don't really want to because they're not high quality foods that obviously make your body feel good or are good for you in the long term. Now, number 6 is setting a non-negotiable bedtime. I say this, and I also want to say that be okay with knowing that this may change at times, right? Personally, I've been in those situations where, you know, I have a really good streak of being like, I'm good with my bedtime, and then I will go through phases where that kind of slips, right? And I find myself in bed scrolling, and I know it's not a great habit. I wake up the next morning and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? So firstly, don't be hard on yourself when you're like, I've been trying this for so long and I just always fall off track. It's the intention there, right? It's the thought that really counts, the intention to be like, okay, I've caught myself in a habit that I don't really like anymore, which is scrolling in bed. And a habit that I really do want to continue cultivating is having that non-negotiable sleep time. That awareness is very key. And then just kind of always steering yourself back on track. So not kind of beating yourself up if you do find yourself slipping, because it happens. I think it's your ability to be aware of these situations and to pull yourself back in. So setting that non-negotiable sleep time, which is then going to lead you to waking up at a certain time. So that kind of non-negotiable wake up time, that is a big habit that I have been really trying to just like ingrain continuously. It really does like make a complete big difference in terms of your energy during the day, and even like your recovery from your workouts, because that is when you're recovering, right? When you're sleeping, when you're actually just letting your body rest. Number 7 is making exercise and your training program a non-negotiable. I think, you know, it's very easy for us to all get to the mindset of being like, I have too much work right now, I'm too stressed, I don't have time. But once you kind of just change your mindset to be like, this is a non-negotiable, just like the way you brush your teeth, even if it's like late at night and you're like, oh, I don't have time, you're going to brush your teeth, right? I hope. So make it a non-negotiable to be like, okay, this is the minimum amount of workouts, not because I'm scared of losing my progress, but because I know that this is so monumental for my physical health and my mental health and my longevity, right? Because you want to see yourself 10, 20, 30 years down the line still being fit and healthy. You don't want to be struggling to get up the stairs because you neglected your health when you were younger because you're too busy working. And yes, your future career is important. All these things, I'm not gonna say they're not important. And yes, your time is limited, but in every certain circumstance and situation for each individual, we are going to have some time for ourselves to exercise. If not, we have to create that time for ourselves. And once you make something a non-negotiable, you're going to get it done. Like when you tell yourself, I have to get this done, you're going to find a way. So often I think like we will make excuses just because we haven't made things a non-negotiable. But when you can make exercise and moving your body a non-negotiable, again, that's going to help you with your mental health, your physical health, your longevity, your energy, even your sleep. Being able to have that time for yourself, monumental. Number 8 is following the mantra that I'm not going to let my energy and my moods be controlled by things that I cannot control, right? A very kind of stoic sort of background to this, but basically focus on what you can control, and anything else should not be something that is going to affect you and your current state and your actions and how you feel, right? Because think about it, what is the point of letting something that you cannot control you? Regardless of how you respond, it's not going to change the circumstance, right? So focus on what you can control, because that's the only thing that's really going to change your future and your trajectory and how you react and respond and even experience certain situations. So I think, again, this is a big one because many times like we will get caught up in all these small problems going on in life, and then when we zoom out, it's really like, okay, well actually, even if I was to stress out and to cry over this and to get very overwhelmed, is this going to change my situation? No, but actually the way that I'm responding is probably going to change how this impacts me, right? So focus on what you can control and don't focus on what you cannot control. Number 9 is reducing my alcohol consumption and the amount of partying I was doing. So this is actually a few years ago now. Like I've been very different for many years, but growing up in high school and uni, I very much was that party girl. I drank a lot, and in hindsight, I don't really know why I drank so much. I think now I know it was the lack of confidence. Like I felt like to be that cool person, I had to go out, drink, be that girl who would get blackout drunk and be just the party itself. Like I would turn up and I'd be like, yes, I'm here, like let's drink, let's go crazy girls. And it's just so embarrassing looking back because that is not how you build confidence, right? And I think for many of us, we go towards alcohol or partying as a escape mechanism. It gives us the sense of like fulfillment in the moment, right? Because the attention's on us. We look great, we're drinking, we're out of control maybe, and we have more confidence because we can't think properly. So we're doing things that perhaps we wouldn't have the balls to do when we're sober, maybe talking to the cute guy or something like that. But when you think about it, is that actually the way to build confidence in the long term? Like, is that a healthy way to go and be able to approach guys or to approach situations that you wouldn't have the confidence in doing when you're sober? Not really, right? It's like a plaster over the wound. Perhaps you have not actually lived with higher personal standards, and perhaps you haven't done things that challenge you. You haven't shown up for yourself in many situations or reached certain goals, right? So that is the kind of wound there. And, you know, drinking and partying, that really was just a plaster that I used to be like, cool, I'm ready to go out now and I'm ready to dress up, put on makeup. I just feel really great about myself. And then the next day I would feel like absolute crap, right? And it's a endless cycle. And again, like we have quite a few clients who do have very vibrant social lives, and you know, a big problem is drinking, because what happens is they then end up binge eating, and then their whole day, the next day is kind of gone. And it's not about going cold turkey. Again, I'm really am about that balance. If you don't enjoy alcohol, that's fine. But again, you don't have to fully cut it out, but just be a bit more intentional. Be like, okay, well, if I have these social events, which events am I going to be going harder on? Like, I'll drink a bit more and I'll maybe be a bit more indulgent. That's going to be my bigger night, and then I'm going to pull back on those other nights, because realistically I don't need 3 or 4 nights of heavy drinking and heavy eating unless I really do not give a crap about my goals, my body, my energy, my health, right? But I think the fact that you're here means that you do care about that. It's about being intentional. Set a limit of drinks that you're going to have, set a limit of nights that you're going to go out each week, right? And you need to start learning to say no to some things, because some of those things aren't going to benefit you whatsoever. And just, you have to get rid of that FOMO as well. There's nothing to be missed out on. Like, you're not missing out on anything by staying at home and actually just working on yourself. Again, a big thing that I was scared, I was like, oh, FOMO, I have to show up. If I get invited, I have to go, because what if XYZ, the photos, all of that. But then in hindsight, I'm like, do those photos matter that much? Like, does it really matter that much versus me actually staying at home, working on my business? That's something I'm really passionate about, building my life, building my career, building my own personal growth, reading something that's going to help inspire me to become a better person. I know it sounds very corny and cheesy, but when you think about the grand scheme of things, what are you going to get more out of that one night where you were drunk again and, I don't know, you spoke to a cute guy, cool, and then you woke up the next morning really hungover, or you spent that one night actually this time at home and doing something for yourself and feeling really great, being energized next morning because you got a good night's sleep and you're able to be productive again, and you're building your life into something that you could have never imagined, right? Really being able to be intentional about when you're going out and when you're drinking, how much you're drinking, is again going to really, really change your life. And finally, building on from this is learning to say no. Again, I was so bad at this. I'm such a big people pleaser. I've gotten so much better at it, but I used to never be able to say no, because I'd be like, oh, but what would they think? But often, you know, we make things out to be a lot worse than what they are in our heads. We think about, oh my gosh, they're gonna hate me now, they're not gonna invite me next time because I said no. But look, like, you are living for yourself regardless of how they react. You need to realize that this life is for you. Your life is how you want to make it and how you want to experience it. So if you want to say no, say no. Stick to your personal boundaries. Have boundaries, right? That's so important, because that also then allows others to recognize what you demand and what you expect. And you're gonna find that people aren't going to treat you like shit or just treat you like a doormat and just step all over you, because they know that you have boundaries and you know what your needs are, what you deserve, and what you're going to take, like the shit that you're going to take. But if you become that person that says yes to everything and doesn't ever stick to their own words, then people are going to notice that, and then they're just going to take you for granted. They're going to be like, well, she's always going to say yes, she's always going to be there, and they're actually probably not going to respect you as much. So having personal boundaries, being able to say no, is going to be so monumental for you. And it does take practice. Like, the next time, challenge yourself. The next time you want to say no, count backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No, I'm going home. No, I've had enough drinks. No, I don't want that dessert. The more you practice it, the better you're going to get at setting healthy boundaries for yourself. So those are the top 10 habits and changes that I have made in my life that really, really have helped me. And I think what's important is not getting overwhelmed by all these different things and being like, I have to implement all of this at once, but picking a few that you really feel are going to be so impactful on your next 90 days. I think 90 days is a great framework to kind of work from, because it's not too short and it's not too long. Obviously, if it's too sure it's very hard to build a habit because habits do take time. 90 days is a nice kind of time frame to really gauge how you're going with certain habits. So pick 3 from here. Let me know what they are in the comments below so that you stay accountable, and let's start cultivating some better habits to move you into 2023 feeling your absolute best, knowing that you are empowered with your actions and you're empowered with how you are living your life. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful. Make sure to give it a like if it was, subscribe if you're new here again, because it really does help support the channel. If you haven't connected with us over on Instagram, that's cz.fit, would absolutely love to see you there. Otherwise, hope you have an amazing rest of your day or night, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.